Hello and welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always by Mr. Bo Brock, live at the PHNX studios in downtown Phoenix. That's not where Mr. Bo Brock was earlier today. He was at a certain week 2 OTAs with Bo, a certain quarterback in attendance. But first and foremost, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. It was nice to get out in the heat, watch some football, some practice, get kind of reacclimated to that organization, and then the gift that keeps on giving. Kyler Murray back in uniform out there in his short shorts, tossing passes. It was greatness. I'm excited to talk about it.
So I was surprised when word on the street was he was going to show up. You even had texted me this morning that you would talk to maybe like a team employee that said, I don't expect him here today.
Right.
And then there he was, number one, strolling out to the practice field. So your initial takeaways, if you can have any, from an OTA, how did he look? How did he move? What was the vibe with the rest of the team? Should we feel good about the contract situation?
Yeah, I think you absolutely should feel good. The team was vibing off Kyler Murray, no doubt about it. Not to sound like an old guy trying to use young people's words, but there was definitely a different vibe around the facility today, and they were kind of parlaying that into a solid practice. And, it was, after the tragedy that was over the weekend with Jeff Gladney losing his life, I think it showed leadership for Kyler Murray to come out today. And it seemed like this was going to already in the works before anything went down, but for him to be there, it felt more official for this team, and the rookies out there and the players that were going to be there anyway were excited to get out there and catch passes. I mean, Rondale Moore spoke to the media. It's just like when he's in there and he's scrambling and he's just improvising, you get that kind of game feel with Kyler Murray that you don't necessarily get from maybe some of your camp arms back there, your Trace McSorley's. No disrespect, but he's not Kyler Murray.
Shout out to producer Emma for this phenomenal production value and this footage we're airing right now for our audio listeners. We're showing some highlights today live from OTAs, PHNX Cardinals at OTAs. And I mean, Kyler looks fantastic. I mean, he looked healthy to me in the offseason from what we saw in his Instagram stories. But I mean, this is a young man who, and we'll hear from Kliff Kingsbury here in a minute, is ascending to the point where they need the best version of Kyler Murray. They have roster holes. They have glaring weaknesses defensively. They're missing DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 weeks. Do you think there's any merit to the people who were saying that? And I'm not necessarily 100% on board with this theory, but it's like you suffer a tragedy like Jeff Gladney losing his life, and the team looks to their leaders. They look to the guys that are going to galvanize this locker room, and Kyler Murray maybe thought to himself, okay, I need to be there for my teammates in this very difficult time. And we talked about yesterday, I don't think Kyler had a relationship with Jeff Gladney, but just to be kind of the unspoken leader of this team. Is there any merit of that? Or was this, we hear from some other folks like Kyle Odegaard and company who used to work for the team saying, no, this is kind of always calculated. He was just going to show up for week 2. I don't know if I can buy that, Bo, because the Schefter tweet from 2 weeks ago, it seemed pretty emphatic. Like, he's not coming at all. And then like a week later, he's there. I think, I don't know. There's something to be said about that.
Well, I mean, Schefter's tweet was about that week specifically. And this is the next round of OTAs, and there's another round next week. And Kliff Kingsbury said today that, I mean, and we don't have this clip, but he said, and I'll just paraphrase Kliff. He was saying, like, I don't know if it's a day-by-day thing. We're in constant communication. He just happened to come to this round of OTAs. I don't know if he'll be at the next one. I'm sure he'll be at mandatory June 14th through 16th. But no, you're absolutely right. I don't think that it's insignificant as far as Kyler Murray being there and this organization needing him to be there to kind of help take this group in a very brutally devastating, trying moment. This group of guys who are trying to figure out what the hell just happened. One of their teammates left for a week and isn't coming back. And, for Kyler Murray to be there, Kliff also mentioned, Kelvin Beachum, who's a great locker room guy, DJ Humphreys, Justin Pugh, all those guys being in the building. It helped this group having its stars, its leaders there. I mean, it was pretty much everybody but DeAndre Hopkins today. It certainly helped because everybody, got together before they hit the practice field. From the reports, our Kliff Kingsbury had a very a solid, message to the team. Kind of told the story about Jeff Gladney and where he started, small town in Texas, and Kliff Kingsbury recruited him, a town of 4,000 people, I believe, and kind of his road to where he, ended his career here with the Arizona Cardinals. He said that, everybody had said that Kliff kind of nailed that and had him in a good spot. And then they were going to go out to an establishment out in Chandler or Tempe area as a group. Rondale Moore says, we just want to show each other that we love each other and that we appreciate everybody and make sure that we're doing it right and we're grieving right. And we're going to do this as a team.
Optics or not, Kyler Murray showing up today. I speaks to a lot of us. Get to some of these comments in the chat. Josh Hunt, Kyler showing up at OTAs was definitely the pick me up the Cardinals needed. I agree with that. I think Kyler recognized that the leadership opportunity and showed up when needed. Absolutely. And it's not to say he pounced at this opportunity. This is a ploy. This is just Kyler being Kyler and saying, my teammates need me, I'm going to show up. Chris Ramos, Kyler is proving to me that he is a great leader and he deserves that contract. I mean, to me, it's like you want to pick and choose your spots in the offseason. That's fine. But when your team needs you like they did today, you show up, and that's what leaders do. So, we don't have to sit here on this conversation and say, they lost a teammate. Where's their quarterback? Their quarterback was there. The quarterback was supportive of the team. And again, those two things, he may have always planned on being there today. But to me, Kyler Murray, by showing up today, contract or not, we saw from a couple national reporters. I think Mike Garofalo of the NFL Network said it's just a sign of good faith. Like, hey guys, I'm ready to work. We got a lot of work to do. The offseason, we've had roster turnover, we've had suspensions, we've got a tragedy. But number one is going to come here and he's going to battle to the best of his ability. And Kliff Kingsbury kind of said as much of needing more from Kyler Murray during his press conference today.
Is it to see Kyler out here?
It's good. Yeah, it's good. I thought, having Beachum, Pugh, Hollywood, Hump, that's always good. A lot of starters back, and so I thought the work was good, spirited, and it was nice.
Has he given you?
Good
so spirited. He mentioned Hollywood in there too, by the way.
Yeah, we got our first glimpse of Hollywood Brown out there, number 2 for the Arizona Cardinals, number 1 on your wide receiver depth chart to start the season. Already stepping in a leadership role, which is, I think that's pretty key. I mean, as people continue to kind of pan that trade, Johnny, when you can flip the 23rd overall pick with all the wide receiver prospects picked off that branch, you get a guy who has 1,000 yards and he comes in, he's got the work ethic and he's got the speed that Kliff Kingsbury says is at another level. And then he's already kind of stepping up as a leader. That's huge for the Arizona Cardinals.
Was he catching passes from Kyler from your vantage point?
So I was trying to get that. I was trying to capture the Kyler Wood connection, and I was never saw it. I saw a couple passes from Colt McCoy to Hollywood Brown, but never saw Kyler Murray connect with him. The way that they position you at practice, you are probably a good 50 to 60 yards from where they're playing catch. So it was tough to see. And they line all four quarterbacks there in camp up together. So you've got them throwing different passes to different receivers. Never saw the Kyler Wood connection that we've all been craving.
Well, it's coming. Due time. It's OTAs. Right. It's not mini camp. It's not mandatory anything. It's not training camp. What were some of your other takeaways, Bo? We're going to talk about Vance Joseph. We're going to talk about the defense in the second segment. But he mentioned Justin Pugh, Kelvin Beachum being back. He spoke to the media. It's funny, Beachum has always been a really well put together guy. We've had him on this podcast before, and between he and Pugh, they both look like they could play other positions. Like, what's going on with the offensive line? Do they all need to go to? Do they even have all you can eat buffets? Did they survive the pandemic? Can we get a sizzler up in here for these guys to load up? A little concerning. Beachum's head smaller than mine.
Yeah, thank God we're 2 months away from the season. They got some chances to beef up. I wish I could if they got on my diet, they'd be all right. They could gain that weight any way possible. But yeah, Beachum's looking thin. Your right tackle, your starting guard, and Justin Pugh. We saw his Instagram post from a couple weeks ago. A couple of the other takeaways. Trey McBride out there, seeing him in action, and Kliff Kingsbury talked about Trey McBride, and he's excited about Trey McBride as far as his athleticism, his work ethic. How he's dialed in practice. you have to be excited about the second rounder out of Colorado State, 55th overall. He's going to be a playmaker right away. I think Kliff Kingsbury is pretty confident about that. And also the conversation continued about Rondale Moore's, new role in this offense. He's going to take over, according to Kliff. He's going to take over those slot snaps that we saw from Christian Kirk that earned him the bag in the offseason, over $17 million per. Rondale Moore is going to get an opportunity because they mentioned, Kliff was transparent about this. Like Rondale was chomping at the bit last season. He wanted to be a bigger player. He just didn't get the opportunity. And now it seems like he's going to get it this year. And I think that's somebody we need to start paying attention to throughout training camp, throughout the preseason, and when the regular season kicks off. In the absence of DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore could have a huge role for this team.
Let's hear from Kliff, if we could, on the ascension of Rondale Moore in year 2.
He's worked really hard this offseason. He feels like he stepped into Christian's role and played at a really high level inside there, and we do too. So I just think the confidence is high right now, and he knows he's got a big opportunity coming up.
Confidence is high. You got to love that.
That's an interesting bite because it's like basically confirming like he's going to be Christian Kirk 2.0 in this offense. He's playing underneath in the slot, which we all assumed. I mean, he's 5'8", 5'7.5". But then you think about, okay, Hollywood Brown is your other outside receiver, AJ Green. So that's your 3 receiver set right now. And then you mix in Antoine Wesley. But man, oh man, you mentioned, DeAndre Hopkins not being there. He's working, rehabbing. I watch his Instagram. He's been at the facility on and off. That's not, breaking news. Still trying to get right from, the surgery he had last, I believe, December. But man, it's like that'll be 6 weeks into the season. I fully believe it's like taking the cover off of the Ferrari and taking it for a speed down the interstate in early November, late October, whenever that is, because you think about the gluttony of weapons, and we won't see it until, what is that? Like mid-October. We won't see it in the preseason. Kyler Murray didn't play in last year's preseason. When you have Rondale Moore in year 2, Hollywood Brown, Trey McBride, Zach Ertz, DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, you would hope that this team, this unit offensively, they're going to be as productive as any we've seen, I would say, since that, not Kurt Warner, Anquan Bolden, Larry Fitzgerald year, but like Palmer, Floyd, John Brown, Fitz kind of year. That to me is what this offense is going to look like, but then probably faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kliff was joking, like, by week 7, they're all going to be cussing him out about what are they going to do with one football and all these weapons, this embarrassment of riches that the Arizona Cardinals have that you just went down, including James Conner, who was out there today, their star running back. So, this is the year of the offense. I mean, we've seen, the defense set the tone last year. The offense is going to have to be the tone setter this year. And it's going to come with Kyler Murray eventually securing the bag before probably the regular season. And then this embarrassment of riches. And if guys we talk about Hollywood Brown and we talk about holding servant until DeAndre Hopkins, but if a guy like Rondale Moore pops, this offense, it goes to another gear. And that's scary to think about.
Speaking of Rondale Moore, you took a great photo we have now on your Twitter of Hollywood Brown, Rondale Moore side by side. This got me emotional. I mean, seeing this photo, this is great stuff, man. First of all, kudos to you, Bo Brock, snapping this pick. But first of all, love the single digits. You've got Kyler Murray number 1, Hollywood number 2, Rondale number 4. Between these two guys, on their best day, we're talking easily sub 4.4, maybe 4.3 speed. I know they're undersized. I know people are concerned about their durability, but man, you look at those two. I just mentioned Hopkins being a Ferrari. Those are like Ford, or I don't even know. I'm NASCAR, and we just had the Indianapolis 500. That's like two. I'm good at car analogies.
Like,
Formula One cars. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Just are you expecting both of those guys to have a big kind of pop year, even though Hollywood's first year, Rondale hasn't been healthy since 2018? I don't know another team that has those kind of weapons at this kind of gluttony of speed. I was trying to think of it today. Who has established receivers that both run sub 4.4? I don't know.
Maybe in Miami, but you got Noodle Arm Tua down there, and I don't know if you can get them the football, and we know Kyler can chuck it, man. He can sling it downfield. He was one of the best big play passers in the league. So, and Rondale mentioned, somebody asked him, is Hollywood the fastest on the team? And he said, no, I'm the fastest guy on the team. And
oh my God, please race each other.
And then he mentioned, they've got Andy Isabella. And I was like, oh, I forgot Andy Isabella's on the team. And then he also brought up,
we all did.
He said that AJ Green likes to lay claim to that too. And AJ Green was making some, I know, but as far as if Rondale Moore is nearly as him, who he ran a sub 4.3.
Rondale, I think he was in the 4.3s.
Yeah.
Because we remember we didn't have a combine, so we don't really know.
And in Hollywood, I don't think we ever got an official 40 time from him because he was nursing an injury. But those guys, and Kliff said it, they have, just different level speed. And if they can somehow harness that with Kyler Murray being the one that kind of moved the chess pieces around, the Arizona Cardinals offense should be fine without DeAndre Hopkins the first 6 weeks of the season.
I can't wait to bet the house. But both those guys have monster years. And speaking of betting, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the NBA champs to be crowned? We here in Phoenix are not. Still mourning the loss of our Phoenix Suns in the NBA playoffs. But we got Warriors. We got Celtics. Join the finals action on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Starting tomorrow, the NBA finals tip off. But you can bet right now via DraftKings, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can make any $5 NBA bet and get $150 in free bets instantly. Looking to turn another small bet into a big payday during the NBA Finals with DraftKings same-game parlays? You can do just that this NBA season. A customer actually placed a $5 same-game parlay, and they won over $5,000. Unbelievable. Actually, very believable with DraftKings. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team's going to win, total threes made. There's going to be a lot with the Warriors. Total rebounds and more, and boom, you have a shot at an even bigger payout. Call to action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code PHNX. Bet. Make any $5 bet during the NBA Finals and get $150 in free bets instantly. That's promo code PHNX only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 and over. Arizona only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customer only. 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customer only. Minimum $5 deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for more details. Jordan P in the chat, Bo says Rondale was high 4.2s, but that was hand time. He's definitely 4.3. I think both guys are like right on the money 4.3. And the thing I love about Hollywood Brown is we've seen his speed translates to the NFL level.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have to worry about. We talk about this all the time. I love Chris Olave, right? I love Garrett Wilson. I love Treylon Burks, right? Johan Dotson. We would have been happy with any of those guys in the first round. We don't know how they're going to translate to the NFL. Now the Cardinals get a 24-year-old player who just came off his first 1,000-yard season, who we believe is going to ascend in an offense that complements his abilities. I don't have to worry. Oh, yeah, I saw him do it against Purdue, or I saw him do it against Missouri, but I don't know if he can do it against the 49ers. Like, right. I have watched Hollywood Brown torch NFL secondaries for the first 3 years of his career. I have no concerns. That's why I'm so bullish on him having a huge year.
Yeah. And like these guys have kind of hacked how to get those high or those low 40 times. They figured it out. The training is now elite, and those guys can get prepped. But yeah, as far as the game speed is concerned, the Arizona Cardinals have two guys that have game-breaking speed in their wide receiver core. And then they've got the guys. I love the diversity of the receiving core now. You've got, your two tall, Z receivers potentially, and Wesley and AJ Green. And then you've got, of course, the guy that's got all the tricks, and DeAndre Hopkins once he gets back. And then, of course, you can think about the middle of the field, Zach Ertz and then Trey McBride. Yep. It's just scary to think about, how versatile they can be. Kyler Murray is going to have so many different options to sling the football around the field. And to have those guys, maybe Hollywood Brown or Rondale Moore, sneak past coverage, and they've got the speed to do it and just be in the open field. I mean, that can take your offense to the next level. It really can.
It's crazy. Kyler Murray was robbed of his first 4,000-yard passing season last year because of the injury. He almost still did it after missing 3 games. I think he hits 4,000 yards by like November. I think he's going to have a monster passing season.
Yeah.
Diego Perez in the chat, JJ said on the Pat McAfee show that Kyler was at the training facility yesterday. So Kyler's been back. First official return to the field was today. So we talked about the offense, Bo, which
Mhm.
we're bullish on. We better be. It's the strength of the team. It's what's going to lead them to the playoffs. Quickly, let's get to Jordan's question here. Over under screens dump offs in a game called for Hollywood Brown. I will not put that over under right now because I don't want to get in a bad mood, Jordan. I don't want to talk about those screens and dump offs. So we're going to talk
Right.
about something else here in the realm of defensive coordinator Vance Joseph. And Bo, you had an opportunity to sit and listen to Vance today. What were some of your takeaways on a defense that maybe is a little bit of a, I don't want to call it turmoil, but transition mode, I think is fair to say.
It is, and you can tell. I mean, Vance Joseph doesn't hide from it either. He's saying that young guys are going to have to step up for this defense. But so he pretty much
it's their time. Isaiah's going into his third year. Zaven's going into his second year. They're first round picks. They have to help us. It's heading that way. I've been proud of Zaven, how much time he's put in. Isaiah's always been a good worker. It's the next step for him. Obviously, watching him last year, he made plays. But now he has to make consistent plays and not give up plays. That's his next challenge. And for Zaven to stay healthy and keep learning. But both guys are physically gifted. So we have to get those guys ready to play.
So
all the right things.
Couple. Well, he said it's trending that way. No, we've reached this point, man. Come on now. He is saying all the right things, but it's June 1st, and I tweeted this out. Let's check back in on September 1st once the preseason's done, training camp. I think Zaven Collins is going to have a big bounce back year after essentially redshirting his rookie season, because I think he is the equalizer for this team's struggles against the running game. And he looked good in the preseason last year against the run in training camp, the red and white practice. I just don't ever think that's going to be Isaiah Simmons' game. And so when you hear Vance Joseph say, well, he's got to be more consistent because he makes those splash plays, I think part of that inconsistency, Bo, comes from just you dip your finger in too many different desserts with Isaiah Simmons, for lack of a better term. It's like, ooh, let me taste a little bit of outside linebacker, and we're base defense, we're an inside, and you can play a little bit of slot corner. It's just like
jack of all trades, master of none.
I can never get comfortable.
Right. And I mean, with that skill set, if you could just kind of isolate it and let him focus on one thing, whether it's the coverage or whether it's getting after the quarterback, or you would think that he would be unstoppable in one of those areas of the game. And you have, and I saw it in the chat, you do have to take everything that Kliff and Vance Joseph say with a grain of salt. And look, you had to take that with the previous head coach before that, in Bruce Arians. He was the king of hyperbole. Like, some guys were the greatest, like Justin Bethel was the greatest corner on the team that had Patrick Peterson on it, and then he was a failure in progress. It was there was no in between. These guys definitely need to take a step forward. No doubt about it. We mentioned on Monday's podcast, or Tuesday's podcast, excuse me. And then you've got a guy like Simmons and Zaven Collins, and you've got Vance Joseph saying, they're finally getting their first full off season, which I don't think is necessarily fair to the fan base, because every other organization has gone through all of this. The Arizona Cardinals weren't the only team that faced COVID and all had different off seasons gearing up for the NFL season. So I don't think that's necessarily fair. But I am excited if they can, because we do see traditionally Steve Keim draft picks really struggle their first year and then get significant snaps, a boost in snaps the next year, and start to figure it out.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys didn't have any problem last year with no offseason getting Micah Parsons to transfer from inside to an outside linebacker and having one of the best rookie seasons in recent memory. And kudos to Dan Quinn for making that happen. We need that same kind of effort and, kind of foresight from Vance Joseph, especially as people in the chat, Classy Nasty, love that name. Maji Sanders will outperform all of them. Took some video today, Bo, and he looked incredibly fluid. He's somebody I think we're both incredibly high on from Cincinnati, outside backer. But listen, when it comes to Simmons, I do believe this is a make or break season. I think they'll pick up his 5th-year option because he's too productive. But like, what do you pay Isaiah Simmons at some point when you have to pay him? because it's always going to come down to this. I think he's a productive NFL player. If he doesn't snap it pop this year, I hope he does. I think he's a productive NFL player, but he's not worthy of it. If you're still asking questions, you've already answered. The fact is he worth a top 10 pick? The answer to that is no. I would flip the script. If you're still having question marks about him playing inside, and the fact that you have a loaded safety room, I would put him at outside linebacker and just see how he does and say, hey, Isaiah, you rushed the passer at Clemson. It's one of the most valuable positions. We lost Chandler Jones. We signed this Nick Vigil from Minnesota, who is a sub-starter. Like Zaven Collins, at least, played inside backer at Tulsa. This is a smaller level of competition than Clemson, but he knows the position, right? Isaiah, I've never seen Isaiah Simmons do it for 16, 17 weeks.
Right.
It's not to say he can't, but I mean, he didn't start the playoff game. I was in the press box in Los Angeles, and I was sitting there, and the two starters to start the playoff game against the eventual Super Bowl champion, against Matthew Stafford's offense, were Jordan Hicks and I can't even remember who the other inside linebacker was. I don't even think he's on the team anymore.
Right. It was a ham sandwich. Yeah.
Simmons and Zaven Collins, the last two first-round picks, were on the sideline. Now, they subbed in Simmons in sub packages, but he didn't start the playoff game.
Right.
So how can you lead me to believe now that he's just going to figure it out and like pick a position? And if it's not inside linebacker, then that's fine. But just if you're going to move him to safety, put him at safety full time.
Right. Save you some money. I mean, if you look at as far as what linebackers make and what safeties make, linebackers, if you ever have to franchise tag, you're going to cost yourself about $5 million compared to a safety. So I don't know. You just want to find where he's going to be the most successful at the NFL level. And I think they do themselves a disservice by trying to just make him, so versatile, still drinking out of a fire hose, is trying to learn the defense and where he's supposed to be. And it really does limit his skill set and what his impact on the game is. Because if he's just out there and he's reacting, you see these big plays like him standing up Derrick Henry, or him stuffing Trey Lance, or him making
he's a football player.
Yeah, he's
no
a football
doubt.
player. Absolutely. So it's going to be so key for them to take a step forward in this defense. You mentioned Myjai Sanders, Cam Thomas, saw them in coverage drills today. They look good. It was like 50%. I think from PHNX Cardinals on Twitter, we tweeted out both of them in coverage, but before that, I had gotten them dropping a potential interception. So you get the good with the bad with those guys.
Deflected passes are fine with me.
But here's the key, and Vance, and this is another thing we're gonna have to hold his feet to the fire for. Come September, October, is he thinks that they can rush the passer. And hopefully he's going to give them an opportunity, because it's going to have to be a rotation of guys opposite Marcus Golden. Well,
and you've said it really well. It doesn't have to be one singular guy. It can't be with the group that they have to replace Chandler Jones. If Myjai Sanders gives you 4, if Cam Thomas gives you 4 or 5, if Devon Kennard gives you a handful, then you're in good shape. Here's what I say, because I just spent 5 minutes banging on Vance Joseph and his development of rookies, specifically at inside backer. Since the Cardinals have hired him as their DC, they've always been able to rush the passer. Now, that was with number 55 lining off the edge, but he revitalized Hassan Reddick's career. It's a big part of why, before his injury, Dennis Gardeck was a really productive player. I am hoping Devon Kennard is this year's Robert Alford, where I'm like, why is he on the team? He hasn't been healthy or hasn't been any good. Why don't we cut him? Well, they did kind of release him, re-sign him to the vet minimum. So he's basically playing for his football livelihood here with Arizona before he goes and is maybe a backup somewhere else. And that's a signing that Vance and company, they wanted him. He's Valley native. They signed him after the 2019 season. And I mean, the footage, I go back to that long run. I think Seattle running back had in the game for the division last year, and he has a chance to crash down on the edge and make a play. He's unblocked, and he just whiffed. So I'm not very high on him, but I will leave it up to interpretation, because I trust Vance to get pressure, to generate pressure, and he's done tremendous things with Marcus Golden. But I will say this, Jalen Blair in the chat brings up a good point. Jalen says, I will also say it's not fair to judge these inside backers because they have played behind a horrible defensive line. Campbell left here and got behind a better D line in Green Bay and became an All-Pro. I think there is some truth to that. And that goes us into our next topic of discussion, Bo. So you've got Zach Allen and you've got J.J. Watt. Both of them are productive when healthy, but that's a big if. Can they stay healthy? The Cardinals, and I don't think the team has announced it yet, but we knew they're releasing Jordan Phillips post June 1st. You're going to get $10 million from Jordan Phillips' release. He's going to be off the team, and you're going to have an extra $10 million to play around with. Do you believe now it's a more critical situation to get quality defensive line depth, or because of inevitably the hole you have in your secondary with the loss of Jeff Gladney, do you think, no, let's go and bring back somebody like Robert Alford first and then see what's left on the defensive line? Because I would say there's more options at corner than there is defensive line currently.
Yeah, I think the defensive secondary is the priority, and I actually felt that way before. You still needed to add a vet to that group, and now it just becomes a bigger priority. I mean, for whatever reason, and call it naive, Steve Keim crew, they don't mind what they have in the middle of that defense. It doesn't seem like they don't have any sense of urgency in filling it. They haven't done it for hopefully they're not kicking the tires like once again on Corey Peters at the nose tackle position, but it doesn't seem, I was watching Rashard Lawrence and Lecky Fotu and those guys run drills today, and they seem pretty content with those guys. So it is kind of the definition of insanity as far as the inside of that defensive line, because they just keep running it back with the similar results and struggling against the run. But that's how the defense is set up. Like, the defense is an opportunistic defense where they try to create negative plays, and that's contingent on the pass rush, get either, blowing up a run play or taking down the opposing quarterback and putting, their high pressure downs are the first and second downs. And sometimes, they're willing to give up a big run play, and that's going to make your run defense look like crap, especially statistically. So
I don't want to gloss over the signing of Kingsley Keke, because he did play a lot in Green Bay. There's no Corey Peters. I don't assume he's coming back. And then Jordan Phillips is gone. So you've subtracted 2. You've brought in 1. They didn't draft one.
I mean, Phillips, you couldn't rely on him. He just wasn't healthy enough. I mean,
no. And we never saw this defense with Phillips, Chandler Jones, and J.J. Watt all together. And I think we were kind of robbed of that. But Phillips, I would not be surprised he ends up back in Buffalo. That's where he wants to be, and that's fine. Let him go and continue his career elsewhere. It wasn't a good signing. I would love the 2 young men you just mentioned, and Lecky Fotu, Rashard Lawrence, one of those guys to pop and do something this year. They were both 4th-round picks, so if all they are the rotational backups, that's fine. But a player we don't talk enough about is 7th-round pick Michael Dogbe, who I think has the most promise of any of the young defensive linemen, maybe outside of Zach Allen, because of his ability to rush the passer. And so I'm anxious to see what he looks like during the preseason, how this group shakes out. I would love if they went out and added like a Carlos Dunlap, somebody like that who knows the division, has the size to play 5 technique, is still available, and has wrecked the Cardinals offensive line before. When the Seahawks made that trade for him 2 years ago, I remember that Thursday night game at Seattle. He was very productive, had a couple sacks on Kyler Murray. And they tend to go out and get guys that have impressed them in division. But we haven't heard of a workout. We brought up Robert Alford, and Ella15 says Alford isn't coming back. I'm sure he's salty. We gave his number away, chose not to sign him. Listen, money changes everything. If they say, hey, Robert, here's $3 million. Can you come back and play corner for us? Like, I'm sure if, feelings can be mended. But I agree with you. Like, before Jeff Gladney's passing, which is horrific, didn't sound like, Alford was going to come back. It also, Jeff Gladney was going to play outside corner with Marco Wilson, and it sounded like Byron was going to play slot full time. So, like, does Byron go back outside? Does Robert Alford then play slot? They're going to have to work a lot of this out. I don't know what you do with that.
It's interesting. Vance said that they were going to expect to see Gladney mostly in nickel packages. So I don't know if he necessarily was going to be one of your starting guys, especially on the outside, to start games.
Maybe not right away. To get
not right away.
wet.
So I don't know. Marco Wilson looked good today. I will say that, and that was
He's
one of the things.
going to be a fantastic player.
Yeah, he's just so athletic. If he can put it together, he's going to be a starter in the NFL. But if they can just get somebody that they can rely upon depth wise, veteran wise, if it's Alford, because I think Alford is just a above replacement caliber player, right? A guy that you can plug and play, but he's not going to win you any games. But he's not going to make a boneheaded bust in coverage, and you're going to be watching a guy his number going to the end zone with Alford. Alford played very well, and I think you can find that. I think that caliber of player like Alford is available. So.
Well, Marco and Byron are both going. I mean, Marco should have a huge jump in year 2. We started every game last year as a 4th rounder out of necessity, but it was a great experience for him. And Byron's in a contract year. Yeah. And then, we talk about having probably the best safety group in the NFL, both of them phenomenal in coverage, and Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson. Then, of course, you throw in the aforementioned Isaiah Simmons. Like, there are still enough pieces to make good in their back 7 when it comes to defending the pass. My biggest concern has and will be, how does this team, if somebody just lines up in, I don't know what personnel it is, like just, two tight ends and just wants to ram the ball at the Cardinals for 4 yards in a cloud of dust. If Kyle Shanahan comes to town with Trey Lance, that when they play head to head and just says, we're going to boot you, we're going to run right at you, who is going to make those pivotal stops? Who is going to apply interior pressure both against the run and the pass? If J.J. Watt's not healthy, I have legitimate concerns about who that's going to be, because Chandler wasn't great against the run last year, but he was better, I think, than people give him credit for, and he just commanded so much attention defensive or offensively. So, man, a lot of questions, but if the offense is humming like they were in week 1 against Tennessee, it does not matter. This defense can be ranked 16th, 17th, 18th, and they'll still be a playoff team if the offense can produce like we expect it to, Bo.
Yeah. It was hot out there at OTAs today, and with the summer heating up right now, we want to make sure everyone's safe, healthy. COVID-19 vaccines are free for everyone 5 and older. Those 12 and older are also eligible for a booster. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for location near you. And with Kyler Murray back at OTAs, back at practice, it's time to celebrate. And what better way to do that than with our new partner, OG's Brands. Yeah, we're talking about OG's Brands. Stop by your local dispensary to grab some amazing scratch-made THC gummies from our friends over at OG's. Different flavors like blackberry, cream, watermelon. Perfect for the mood that you're in. Uplifting sativa can help boost that for you. If you're interested in trying any of the delicious variety of flavors from OG's that they have to offer, check them out. ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com. Find OGs near you.
Oh man, I could use an OG right now. It's been a tough couple of weeks. The tragedy in Texas, the tragedy with Jeff Gladney. It was nice to finally get some positive news with Kyler Murray returning to the Arizona Cardinals for OTAs. So, Bo, for our last little bit here, just your prediction as it relates to when do you think we'll get a contract extension? We've had 2 insiders on this program, shameless plug, over the last 2 weeks. One said in Ian Rappaport he thinks it gets done sooner rather than later. Yeah. And then Jordan Schultz, our guy, said it could be a little while. So what's your opinion after today? What was the vibe?
I think maybe when we're sitting around after the 4th of July, they get something done. Because, I mean, as you mentioned yesterday on the podcast, Steve Keim not in the fold. But it doesn't seem to be as the sense of urgency isn't there any longer. Sure, I mean, he missed OTAs. Kyler did last week, but he was there again this week, good faith, and he'll be there at mandatory minicamp, I'm sure. And then because it seems like something was said between the two sides right around, was it the draft time, where Steve Keim said 0% chance that he's dealt. And then Kyler goes on his Twitter crusade and shuts a bunch of people up. It seemed right around that time there was something that was communicated to Kyler in his group that they're going to get something figured out. And now there isn't this sense of urgency. Hey, we got to do something, iron something out, so you're going to be happy and you're going to be a good teammate and good soldier. So I don't think that it's going to come within the next couple of weeks. I hope I'm proved wrong, just so we could talk about it. But at the same token, like, I think it gets done before probably training camp. more in line with where we've seen a lot of these deals happen, the July, August time frame.
Everybody's in t-shirts and shorts anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
that was always my point, is like Kyler can just go hang out and throw the football around. He was moving around pretty well. And, I did way more than I thought. First of all, I did not think he was going to show up today. But yeah, you're right. By the time the pads are on, even with quarterbacks can't being hit during practice, there's no way he's out there without a brand spanking new deal, a bunch of guaranteed money. I can't wait for it. You also should not wait to head over to the PHNX merchandise locker. Get that banger of a shirt Bo's got on. I'm showing my support today for our PHNX Diamondback co-hosts. I'm repping one of their brand new shirts, the Rattlesnake. I love it so much. We're also rocking our PHNX lids, the PHNX merchandise locker, just under, I think they're $29.99, steal of a deal. I wear this hat every day. I work out in it. Shameless plug there. Here's another shameless plug. Go to gophnx.com for the best articles around as it relates to Arizona sports. Craig Morgan, Bo Brock, Gerald Bourget, Anthony Totri, so many quality writers you can read right now. Gophnx.com, become a member. 50 cents for the first month, $8.99 for the subsequent month, or you can become a member for the year, just under $60, and you get a free t-shirt.
Yeah,
what's up?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Johnny, you're gonna be off for the next couple days, right?
I am. Yeah. Wife and I recently celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary. Going to take some time off. I like to tout that I think I've missed since we launched last August. I think I've missed one show, which was a Friday show, maybe after the season was over, just because I was so depressed about what happened in LA. But since then, yeah, this is my baby. But I'm going to leave my kids and this kid with my partner in crime here, Bo Brock, and he's going to do a hell of a job.
We'll try not to lose all the viewers, but we got a good show on tap tomorrow. Seth Galinas from Pro Football Focus, who just ranked DeAndre Hopkins the third best receiver in the NFL. He's going to be talking about how they came to that conclusion. We know why, but he's going to shed some context to that, some light. Excited to talk about that, and we'll get Frank Sanders and Damian Anderson back in the fold as well.
That's better than Danny Cannell ranking Kyler Murray, the 18th or 19th best quarterback, but we digress. It was a joke. You know, it's not a joke.
One time Danny Cannell wore a turtleneck on ESPN, and that's when I knew I don't have to take his takes seriously.
Kyler needs to just be a hired mercenary this fall and just taking names left and right, the double middle finger. Get your contract and then get your Super Bowl. And everybody here should get subscribed to the PHNX Cardinal podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. We would so greatly appreciate it wherever you get your podcast. We are growing here at PHNX. We're having a banger start to the summer. Just had our most productive month to date for the month of May. We want to thank everybody, the outreach, the support. You guys are the best. We do this because of you, because we love you guys, and we can't wait to party this fall when the season kicks off. But I'm going to say bon voyage for now. Bo will be back tomorrow. I will see you guys on the other side. Take care.